The loss to Brentford felt like a game in which we deserved to lose and in which none of the team really turned up. That happens, you move on. We only have 4 losses in our last 18 games, and we can definitely rebuild our momentum. However, following the game, the news around Crystal Palace has completely changed the mood. Chadi RIad and Chait Doucouré are now reportedly out for the season, with Chadi RIad suffering an ACL injury, and I think Doucouré's got a meniscus tear. Very worrying times. That leaves Crystal Palace with only 3 fully fit centre-backs, which is pretty scary to think about when Oliver Glasner favours 3 centre-backs in his starting 11. The window shuts on Monday the 3rd of February, and Steve Parish really needs to sign a defender before the window closes. We are being linked with wanting to sign a defender as well. We have now lost Chalobah and Riad for this season, which is so unlucky. So we've gone from 5 centre-backs to 3 centre-backs. I know Klein and Lerma can play there, but realistically, we need Lerma in the middle, and Klein's kind of past it right now. I wouldn't trust him consistently over a season if one of our main centre-backs had an injury. So there is still time to get a defender in, and I have the perfect player for you. Dougie Freeman and Steve Parish, if you're listening, obviously you're not going to be, but please sign this centre-back. Welcome back to Luke Talks Palace, where today I'm bringing you a little bit of a different video. One around the transfer window, but not around the latest news. One in which I reveal the perfect Glasner signing that the club should sign. As always, if you're new here and if you enjoy the content, please feel free to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or follow it if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Like and comment on the video. Let me know if you rate this player I'm talking about, or if you'd like to see us sign someone else. And if you'd like to see us sign someone else, who would you like to see us sign? Let me know. With the way we play and the current defenders we have, I think Marc Guehi needs to stay on the left, and I think Lacroix, however you want to say it, needs to stay in the middle. Chris Richards has, for the most part, done a fairly decent job of filling in for Trevoh Chalobah, who was recalled by Chelsea. However, I sadly did not think he is the answer to our problems long term. He is good in the air and he's very physical. He is solid at defending most of the time. But for me, he is simply not good enough when it comes to passing the ball forwards, something we are dying for right now. I'm also not sure if Richards' defensive awareness is good enough to be consistently starting in a Glasner setup. Now, don't worry, Crystal Palace fans, I will get to that player shortly that I'm talking about. But the final thing I will say is I'm trying to be realistic with this player. I do genuinely believe that we could sign him if we wanted to, and perhaps January would be difficult for it, but we could definitely be able to sign him in the summer. I do also think if we wanted to, we could sign a centre-back in January for sure. As I said before, it is a tricky situation. Some believe Lerma and Klein are good enough to cover for the rest of the season, but to me, that's really risky. As I said, Lerma's needed in the middle, especially with Doucouré injured as well, and Wharton still not fully fit. So, the moment you have been waiting for, Crystal Palace need to sign Christian Mosquera. So, I'm going to give you my analysis on the defender with all the stats, comments and more, and share why he would be a perfect fit for Crystal Palace. Before I do that, I just want to tell you a little bit more about the defender and share who he is for all those out there who may not know who he is. Christian Mosquera is a centre-back who plays in La Liga for Valencia. He is only 20 years old, which perfectly fits the profile of player Palace are looking to sign. He's young, with potential, and he would arrive with the possibility to sell for profit long term. Mosquera has risen from the academy at Valencia to the first team, and he's now a key player. He has made over 70 appearances for the Spanish side, despite only being 20. Mosquera is also getting noticed at international level, with the player now involved in the under-21 Spanish setup. He is 6'2" with a contract at Valencia until 2026 at this current time. Now, let's dive into why I think Mosquera would be such a good fit for Palace. As I've already mentioned, Mosquera fits the profile of player Palace want. He's young, top potential, and this means we can probably make profit on him long term. This model is one I enjoy. However, I do feel like we aren't that good at it at the moment. We kind of hold on to players too long and then we lose value on them, Zaha, or we don't really replace them well enough, Elise. But there is promise in this model and I'm sure we can get it right. Despite that, I still want us to back this model as it's really sustainable for a mid-table club. More so, it's also being reported that Mosquera doesn't want to renew his contract at Valencia, which ends in 2026. This means we could probably get him for a very decent price, similar to the Marc Guehi situation. Now, let's dive into the good bits. What qualities would Mosquera bring to Palace, and how does he improve the squad? Despite Valencia struggling in La Liga at this current time, Mosquera has been one of few shining lights in the squad. The player is seen as one of the best young centre-back prospects in Europe. In 2023/24, the central defender ranked up the 9th most minutes of any outfield player across the entirety of La Liga, despite only being 20. So let's have a look at some of his stats from last season and compare them to every defender in La Liga. Right, so as you can see, there are some stats here for you, kind of in a different way, in a graph format, which I will be explaining to you, so do not worry at all. If you want to see more graphics and stuff like that, let me know. Please do subscribe and I'll start improving the graphics and the quality of them as well, for sure. For me, when you see these stats, 2 attributes stand out for him: his defensive action volume and his dual success rate. Ranking in the 95th percentile of defensive dual success rate is practically world class. Yes, I just about got that out. This is probably the most defensive skill-based metric that is widely available, and Mosquera has proven that this is one of his strengths. You can see his attributes in other categories are slightly lower. However, we have to remember that he is so young, and this is in comparison to every defender in La Liga. So all them ones in their prime, all the ones at Barcelona, Real Madrid, etc., etc. So we already know that he has one really good trait, and that is the fact that he is amazing at winning contests against other opponents, be it aerial duels, ground duels, or dispossessing opponents. It would be great to bring someone in of this physicality at Palace, and I think him being so good at this makes him a great signing for a physical division like the Premier League. Hopefully he would adapt to that physicality quite easily. This season, Mosquera has continued to thrive, and he has in fact improved in some departments. We'll go into that a little bit later. Now, the big reason that I want him in our team is due to his traits on the ball. Joachim Andersen may not be missed in terms of defensive qualities. Lacroix is amazing at that. But one thing we are desperately missing are his beautifully lofted passes to our players on the wings. It's been so missed. There have been far too many times this season where Daniel Munoz has been put on the right wing, completely free and in a great position. Yet our centre-backs or midfielders are too worried to kick it long to him. Due to this, our transitions from defence to attack are far too slow, and this has seen us struggle against teams who sit back as we just pass it around the back with no impact. It's slow, it's dull, and it's easy to defend against. So, with all that in mind that I've just said, let's take a look at Mosquera's passing stats. As you can see, he is really good at what we need. Mosquera is ranked 71st for all players in Europe's top 5 leagues when it comes to long passes completed. 71st may not seem great, but it is, because it includes players in every position, literally every position, as well as players who have just performed one long pass. If you take players like that out of the equation, the ones who have literally only completed 1 or 2 passes, he's in the top 60, which is great for someone who's only 20. Mosquera managed to complete 94.1% of his passes as well, between 15 to 30 yards up the pitch last season. That's really impressive. So he loves a pass forward. Exactly what we need. Someone who looks up, wants to pass quickly, or who can complete that long pass, hopefully, to Munoz. Of course, though, what we need is a wing-back on the left-hand side who can also be as far forward as Munoz sometimes. I'm not saying Mosquera on the right is going to pass it forward to Munoz. I'm saying hopefully we'd have Mosquera's impact on the right or the left if needed, who could be able to literally long pass it to either fullback. Sticking on Munoz, we know he loves to stay forward and attack. It is a huge strength of ours and works perfectly for a Glasner formation, with the wing-backs attacking being a key tactic. Looking at scouting reports on Mosquera, they noted that his defensive abilities are boosted by his colossal stature and rapid recovery speed. They also highlighted how Mosquera has been particularly useful when covering on the right-hand side of a Valencia defence that features the adventurous attacking movement of Thierry Carrera. He sounds like the ideal player for a Glasner setup. That is literally what we need. We need that person as a right-sided centre-back to basically cover the attacking features of Munoz, and he's already done this at Valencia, so he knows that tactic well already. Things you love to see, right? Right, let's look at his defensive stats per 90 this season. Now, I obviously need to bring up both sides. I need to bring up the positives and the negatives. I'm not saying he's the perfect player. He is only 20 years old. Let's remember that. These stats are comparing with those in Europe's top 5 leagues as well. Now, his defensive stats are looking a little bit not what we want them to be. However, I think that's more due to the environment he is at. Valencia are really struggling, and their ownership have made some really big mistakes over the years. I really do think his stats like tackles won, other stuff like that, would be in a much higher percentile at another club, based on what I've seen of him and based on his stats from last season when they were performing a little bit better. Overall, Mosquera looks like a really exciting player. He's young, full of potential, but he's already playing at a very high level right now. He's got the physicality, he's got the awareness, and he's got the vision. What is there not to love? Yes, he'll need some time to improve. There's some things that are lacking, but that is why we've got Oliver Glasner. He is a perfect coach. He has improved Will Hughes. He has improved Mateta. He has improved Munoz. He has improved Mitchell. I could go on. What else is really good about Mosquera is the fact that he has played as a left centre back as well, or the left sided centre back. Marc Guehi could probably leave Crystal Palace this summer. I would be shocked if he stays past this summer. So Mosquera could be seen as a future replacement for Marc Guehi as well. But I would love us to sign him in January. Be proactive, make the signings when we need them, not when we're really desperate for them. I'd argue we're somewhat desperate for them right now, but he's a really top player, high potential, and he'd be able to come to a club where he could show himself on the big stage, get himself some more awareness, and maybe move on to a bigger club in the future. Point an example, Michael Elise. Anyways, let me know if you enjoyed this type of video. I can do more analytical videos if you want me to. The support is massively appreciated. I'm loving the comments lately. I'm loving the subscriptions. I'm getting a lot more than I used to, so I'm really appreciating that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Would you like us to sign Mosquera? Let me know. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Come on, we can do it. Up the Palace. I know there's more than 1,000 Palace fans out there. If you're listening on Spotify as well, any follows or 5-star reviews are massively appreciated. I'll see you later. Up the Palace.